I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, behind this very unassuming shopping center, where this over 100-year-old Magnolia stands as the final remnant of a piece of baseball history here in the city. Long before the Atlanta Braves were winning division titles and World Series, the city was home to two baseball teams in the early 20th century, the Atlanta Crackers of the Southern Association and the Atlanta Black Crackers of the Negro Leagues. Both teams played down at Ponce de Leon Park, also known as Spiller Field for a time, in the old 4th Ward neighborhood. The ballpark, first wooden framed, then destroyed by fire in 1923 but quickly rebuilt, was always known as a pretty standard ballpark for the time. However, one very unique feature stood approximately 462 feet from home plate. And you guessed it, it was this magnolia tree. So, why even was there a magnolia tree in center field? To understand this, we need to go back even further in time and dive even deeper into the history of the city of Atlanta. The area where Ponce de Leon Park sat was a natural springs, and you can still see some of the evidence of the low-lying nature of the area today in the neighboring Old 4th Ward Park. The springs, named Ponce de Leon Springs due to the water's alleged restoring powers, were a popular spot for Atlantans to relax in the 1800s, and by the late 19th century there was a streetcar line that ran the approximately 2 miles northeast from downtown and eventually along what would become Ponce de Leon Avenue to take Atlantans to the leisure area. In 1890, an artificial lake for swimming and boating was built across from the springs, just below the railroad tracks. And on the site was a relatively young magnolia tree, planted around 1860. And not long after, the company who owned the land, the Georgia Railway and Electric Company, purchased the Crackers in 1906. Before the purchase, the team had been playing games in a number of different locations around Atlanta, including just north in Midtown, down south in Mechanicsville, and right in Piedmont Park as well. But the Georgia Railway and Electric Company wanted a more permanent home for the team. So, the lake was drained and Ponce de Leon Park was built and opened on May 23, 1907, with the Magnolia remaining in the field of play. While the field was built with baseball in mind, college football, blossoming in the South at the time, was also played on the grounds, with the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, led by Coach John Heisman, yes, that Heisman, also called the stadium home, from 1908 to 1911 before moving to Bobby Dodd Stadium on its campus. The Georgia Bulldogs also played games on the site. In September of 1923, the wooden ballpark was destroyed by a fire, but was quickly rebuilt with funds largely from local concessionaire Rel Spiller. Spiller put a whopping, for the time, $250,000 into the state-of-the-art steel-framed ballpark. The park set standards for large ballparks at the time, including actual bucket seats instead of bleachers, which were a novelty at the time. And I'm sure they were largely appreciated by the backs of many spectators. The stadium sat around 20,000 spectators, which was about the same as Cubs Field, which a few years later was named Wrigley Field in 1927. However, the most unique feature of the ballpark was the Magnolia in center field, which stood approximately 462 feet from home plate. If a player hit the tree, the ball was deemed in play. While it would require quite the, to use modern terms, exit velo and launch angle to reach the tree at the time, a few sluggers did it. Yankee legend and all-time great Babe Ruth and eventual Braves star Eddie Mathews both hit balls into the tree. Ruth actually had 2 famous homers in exhibitions at Ponce de Leon Park. One into the tree, and another apparently that landed in a railroad car on the adjacent tracks on the hill, and traveled 752 miles to Joplin, Missouri, making it easily the longest home run of all time. But that story might be a video for another day. Eddie Mathews, while playing for the Boston Braves affiliate Atlanta Crackers in 1950, hit 32 home runs as just an 18-year-old, wowing spectators at Ponce de Leon. In April of 1949, the Brooklyn Dodgers came to Atlanta to play the Crackers in an exhibition series. And gracing the field that day for the Dodgers were, of course, Jackie Robinson and Roy Campanella, the former of which had broken baseball's color barrier 2 years earlier. The games were a momentous occasion, being the first integrated professional baseball games in the Deep South. Once Major League expansion was on the horizon in Atlanta with the proposed building of Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, Ponce de Leon Park's days were numbered. And the stadium was demolished in 1965, just a year before the Major League team came to Atlanta, with the Crackers playing their final season at the brand new ballpark. And as for the famous Magnolia, The tree still stands to this day in the Midtown Place Shopping Center. So I'm out here at the Midtown Place Shopping Center. I just grabbed a little bit of coffee at the Starbucks over there, which roughly sits where the ticket booth is at, I do believe. And as you can see, where we're standing right now, the shopping center's over here. This would have been the grandstand. And then I do believe the shopping center ran along roughly where the third baseline was. Looking at pictures, I'm using a scientific method called the eye test. We go over here on this side of the parking lot. There is one more piece of evidence that this place existed. I wouldn't really consider it evidence per se, but maybe just a little omen to, you know, the ballpark that used to stand here. You can see they have this little mural of a baseball player here, Midtown Place, and then down at the end there's a baseball down here. Here you go. Right here. There's a baseball. A little bit of, you know, I would say maybe a dedication to the field that used to stand here. It is kind of wild to me that there was like a big piece of baseball history here, and now it's just this quintessential shopping center, and hundreds of thousands, millions of people visit it annually and probably have no idea they're walking across a home plate where Babe Ruth hit a couple homers into this famous tree. And you know, Jackie Robinson, Roy Campanella, all these athletes played here, and it's just wild that it's now right next to a Whole Foods. Millions of people actually pass the tree on Atlanta's Beltline every year, which used to be the train tracks that Babe Ruth allegedly hit the home run to. The area is actually one of the most visited places in Atlanta, keeping in line with the area's history as a recreational and leisure destination for many. So if you're ever in Atlanta and on the Beltline, just remember that this Magnolia is an important part of baseball history in the city, with countless legends playing beneath it.